I stood by my wife throughout her entire battle with cancer, and now she wants a special permission. My wife and I have been married since 2001 and together since 1999. She is the smartest, most caring, and loyal person I know, and I always thought I was lucky to meet her and marry her. She has always been and still is physically beautiful, and throughout our marriage, men have told her that. She always turned them down. Earlier this year, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer and underwent a full hysterectomy. I wasn't worried. I researched the cancer. It was diagnosed early, treated quickly, and she made a full recovery. I took time off work to take care of her after the surgery, and everything seemed to go well. There were a few expected emotional moments on her part, and even though I'm not a very emotional person, we handled them together. After her recovery, she insisted that we start living fully and planned a 10-day trip across Europe followed by a trip to Belize. I didn't mind creating memories and checking off adventures from her bucket list. It made sense. I also understood that this was a result of her newfound vulnerability toward life. She also started doing yoga, swimming, and taking healthy cooking classes. I was completely supportive of everything, until last week. Last week she came home from work and told me she wanted a special permission. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to sleep with someone other than me. She said that since her cancer diagnosis, her perspective on life had changed, and she didn't want to feel limited in what she desired to do. She explained that she had always felt attracted to a man from her work, and since he was leaving the company and she would never see him again, this was the perfect opportunity, the chance to sleep with someone else. She said, of course, I could say no, but that she would be disappointed in me indefinitely, and that would only confirm my toxic masculinity and insecurity. I don't consider myself toxic, and if not wanting my wife of more than 20 years to sleep with another man is insecurity, then I guess I'm insecure. I told her I appreciated that she talked to me about it, but that approval under coercion isn't approval. I also told her I didn't like the way she described my yet unknown reaction to such a serious topic that could affect the rest of our marriage and our life together. The next morning, she basically told me that she was sorry for putting such a big decision on my shoulders and that, to help me, she would make the decision for me. My first sarcastic thought was, wow, thanks, just what I needed. She booked a hotel near the place where her coworkers were organizing this man's farewell party and planned to spend the night with him, hoping I would still be here when she got back. She told me she would answer all my questions about the night after it happened, but not before. She refused to tell me anything about the guy because she knows me too well and thought I would obsess over it, making everything too real for me. According to her, the less I knew, the better, which completely contradicts her offer to tell me everything after it was already too late. At first, I thought, at least she's been honest with me, and after everything she's been through, maybe I should let it go. I truly have no idea what she's experienced, so I can't ignore how this has affected her worldview. I even called her best friend to talk about the matter, and she called me insensitive for even hesitating, saying I had no idea what my wife had gone through. After that conversation, I felt awful and was about to apologize and give my wife my blessing. But it was also Thursday during NFL season, and my friends and I always get together to watch the games. I thought it would be good to clear my head and watch some football with the guys before making a decision. I went to my friend Jerry's house, we had a few beers, and I ended up telling them everything. Jerry was the first to react. His jaw dropped, and he just asked, "Are you kidding?" I shook my head. Kevin, who was my best man at our wedding, shook his head and said, "Man, cancer or not, this is completely crazy. You've been married for 20 years. It's way too late for her to pull this." Jerry, who never really got along with my wife, simply said, "Told you she was crazy, man. If she does it, you have to leave her." I replied, "Come on Jerry, that's too much," but I looked around for support from the others. None of them agreed with me. In fact, they all agreed with Jerry. When I mentioned what my wife's best friend had said, Kevin simply responded, "Man, she's her best friend. Of course, she's going to take her side. Why'd you even talk to her? That's like being in an echo chamber." After talking with them a bit more, it became clear to me that I really didn't want my wife to sleep with another man, and that if she did, I would ask for a divorce. That night, I went home feeling strong, hoping my firm opposition would make her reconsider. But unfortunately, it didn't. I told her it was an absolute no and that I didn't know how I would feel about her if she went through with it. Once again, she gave me the argument that it would be just once, that it was for her, and that she would get over it. She went out Saturday, supposedly to the co-workers' farewell party, but in reality, it was to sleep with that guy. When she texted me saying she was heading to the bar, I asked her if she was really going to do it. Her response: "I will not answer any more questions tonight. I'll see you tomorrow." I blocked her. Then I did something that was either really stupid or really smart. I went to the bar where the gathering was happening. I didn't go in but sat on a bench at the bus stop across the street. After a while, I saw a group come out, saying goodbye to a man. I assumed he was the guy. My wife wasn't there. For a moment, I thought maybe she had cancelled everything. But then she came out, looked around, took his hand, and they started walking together. All the emotions I felt, fear, sadness, anger, disgust was the dominant one. The guy was short, fat, and bald. Everything I could never be. I followed them to the hotel, then turned around and went home. I messaged Harry, telling him she had done it and that I was going to file for divorce. He's been through 4 divorces, so he gave me some valuable advice. On Sunday, I moved her things to the guest room and left a note asking her to find another place as soon as possible. Since then, she has tried to call me many times, but she's blocked. I listened to the first voicemail she left, but all I felt was a strange satisfaction at seeing she couldn't contact me and was clearly worried. When I got home, she tried to talk to me. I just replied, "You already made all the decisions for both of us. Keep doing that," and I left. This week, I have an appointment with the divorce lawyer Jerry recommended. I was devastated. Even though I had already moved her stuff to the guest room, blocked her, and had a lawyer on the way for the divorce, the truth was that all of this was still eating me up inside. After more than 20 years together, after being by her side during the worst time of her life, she simply decided she wanted to sleep with another man and expected me to accept it just like that, as if my feelings didn't matter, as if our marriage meant nothing. I needed to get out of the house. I couldn't stay there, sinking in my thoughts. I picked up my phone and messaged Jerry, asking if he wanted to go out for drinks. It didn't take him a minute to respond, "Of course, man. The usual bar." I replied yes, and in less than 30 minutes, I was on my way. The bar was one of those long-time places where we had spent countless nights drowning sorrows and celebrating victories. As soon as I walked in, I saw him sitting at the bar with 2 beers already served. He saw me and raised his bottle in my direction. "Dude, you look terrible." "I feel even worse," I replied, sitting next to him and grabbing my beer. I took a long swig like it could cleanse my soul. We drank in silence for a few minutes until he broke the ice. "So, did she try to talk to you?" "She tried, but I'm in ghost mode. I blocked her everywhere. I don't even want to see her face." Jerry let out a dry laugh. "Good. But bro, you need to get over this soon. You can't let her win." I knew he was right, but saying it was easy. I still felt like crap. We kept drinking and chatting, and after a few beers, my head started to feel a little lighter. But then, when I turned to order another round, I saw someone I didn't expect, my ex's best friend. She was sitting with 2 other women at a table in the corner, laughing and drinking like nothing had happened, like everything was fine. I felt rage boiling inside me. "Look who's here," I told Jerry, subtly pointing. He looked and burst out laughing. "No way. That bitch had the audacity to call you insensitive, but there she is, having a great time like nothing's wrong." I watched her for a few seconds, and then Jerry nudged me. "Go talk to her." I hesitated for a moment, but after a few beers, courage, or stupidity, started pushing me. I stood up and walked to her table. "I see you're having a good time." She looked at me, visibly surprised at first, but quickly composed herself. "What do you want?" "I just wanted to understand something. You called me insensitive, but it doesn't seem like you're too affected by all this." She scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Look, I get that you're hurt, but your wife went through hell." "My ex-wife," I corrected coldly. She smirked sideways. "Ah, so it's official. You're not going to forgive her. You really thought you would? You're so predictable. I knew you'd react like this. You've always been such a rigid guy." I let out a humorless laugh. "Oh, right. Because wanting respect in my marriage makes me rigid." She looked at me like she was assessing me, then took her glass and drank a long sip before speaking again. You know she's going to move on, right? She's going to continue with her life. You, on the other hand, here you are at the same old bar, torturing yourself with all this. That was enough to set me off. Oh yeah. We'll see about that. And then I did something that may have been a mistake, or one of the best decisions of my life. I grabbed her by the waist and kissed her. At first, she was stiff, surprised, but soon she responded. The alcohol helped, but we were both still sober enough to know what we were doing. The kiss was intense, charged with anger and desire. And maybe even from a resentment disguised as attraction. When I pulled away, she looked at me with a different shine in her eyes. You really did that? I did. That's when I heard Jerry's laughter behind me. My God. This is perfect. This is the best revenge, man. Enjoy it. He stood up, pulled his keys from his pocket, and smiled. I'm out. I'll leave you two alone. And he left. We kept drinking a bit more until desire became stronger than reason. She took my hand, and before we knew it, we were already in the bar's bathroom. It was intense, wild, something I never thought I'd do, but there we were, giving in to the madness of the moment. At some point, I discreetly took out my phone and recorded everything, every detail. But it didn't stop there. After leaving the bar, we went to a nearby hotel. On the way, we already knew what was going to happen, and it did. This time, I made sure to record more than just a few seconds. I recorded everything without her fully noticing, and it was incredible. The next morning, I woke up with a brutal hangover. I looked to the side and saw her sleeping soundly in the hotel bed. That's when I decided it was the perfect time to leave. I got up carefully, gathered my things, and left without making a sound. Let her pay the bill. And then, even before having a coffee to cure the hangover, I did what I had to do. I took my phone, selected the best clips from the video, and sent them to my ex-wife. No text, no explanation, just the videos. Then I blocked her again. I sat on a bench in front of the hotel, took a sip of my coffee, and smiled. This time, the revenge was mine. I won't lie, after that night with my ex's best friend, the next day while drinking my coffee and battling the hangover, a part of me wondered if I had gone too far. As incredible as it had been, as perfect as the revenge seemed, I couldn't help wondering if I had stooped to her level. But then I remembered. I remembered the way that friend looked at me, like she enjoyed the situation. I remembered how she planted the idea that I was insensitive, how she made sure my ex believed she had to leave me behind, as if she'd been pushing our marriage off a cliff from the beginning. And then I understood, she deserved it too. She helped plant that idea in my ex's head. She encouraged her to go through with it, and now she had tasted her own medicine. It was clear that deep down, she never wanted to see her happy with me. Maybe she was one of those people who hate seeing others in stable relationships. Maybe she wanted my ex to be single again so they could go out together like before. Or maybe she simply enjoyed sowing chaos. But either way, she had her share of blame in all of this. And now my ex was going to have to face the consequences. When I got home, her car was still in the driveway. Before opening the door, I already knew she was waiting for me to confront me. And sure enough, there she was, standing in the middle of the living room, arms crossed, red eyes. I didn't know if from anger or from crying. You're a monster. That was the first thing that came out of her mouth. I let out a disbelieving laugh. I'm the monster. Really? She stepped forward, furious. You slept with my best friend and sent me the videos. You're despicable. And you slept with another man while we were still married. She opened her mouth to reply, but stayed silent. She knew I was right. It's not the same, she whispered, but without the same firmness as before. No. Then explain to me, what's the difference? She remained silent for a few seconds as if searching for an argument. Then she lifted her head and threw what she thought was her final blow. You did it out of revenge. I shrugged. And you did it out of selfishness. Which is worse? She was shaking. I didn't know if from rage or desperation. I never thought you were capable of something like this. And I never thought you'd betray me. Another silence, but this time I saw something different in her eyes. It was as if, for the first time, she realized there was no turning back. And then she launched her final attempt at manipulation. I hope you're satisfied. If my cancer comes back, if I die, it'll be your fault. You destroyed me. You ruined everything. I felt a slight knot in my chest, not because I believed her words, but because she truly thought she could use that to make me feel guilty. I took a deep breath, stayed calm, and responded in the coldest voice I could manage. Go find your friend. See if he'll take care of you the way I did. See if he'll stay by your side. If he'll support you in your worst moments. If he'll give you love and affection like I did. Go and find out if he'd do for you what I did. Her eyes widened. You're cruel. No, I'm realistic. You're the one who destroyed this. You're the one who threw away someone who loved you unconditionally. Now live with that choice. She said nothing more. She grabbed the car keys and left the house, slamming the door so hard it nearly broke the hinge. I stayed there, alone in the living room, feeling a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The divorce was already underway, and now she knew there was no going back. She had made her decision, and I had made mine. But the difference was, I wasn't regretful. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was in control of my life again. The divorce happened faster than I expected. From the moment she walked out of the house slamming the door, to the day we signed the final papers, everything seemed to happen on autopilot. There were no tears. No reconciliations. No second chances. Just a dry, definitive end. Of course, she tried her moves. First, she played the victim, sending messages I ignored. Then she tried blaming me, as if I were the one who destroyed our marriage and not her. She called me cold and heartless. She said she never imagined I'd leave her like that, as if she wasn't the one who betrayed me first. But in the end, all she managed to do was sign the divorce and leave my life forever. She never came back home. At first, it felt strange. For years, I was used to walking in and seeing her there, hearing her voice in the living room, smelling her perfume in the hallways. But now, silence filled every corner. The first night after she left, I walked through the house, looking at the empty spaces where her things used to be. The bathroom looked bigger without her creams and cosmetics scattered everywhere. The bedroom felt colder without her clothes on the floor. The kitchen was absurdly tidy without her dirty mugs piled up in the sink. It was the first time in a long while that the place truly felt like mine. I could do whatever I wanted. I could sleep in the middle of the bed without anyone complaining. I could leave my things wherever I wanted. I could drink late without worrying about a fight afterwards. And that's exactly what I did. That very night, I picked up the phone and called Jerry. I need a beer. He didn't hesitate a second. Same bar as always. Same as always. I grabbed my keys and left. When I arrived, he was already sitting with 2 beers on the table and a grin from ear to ear, like he knew something good was coming. So how does the life of a free man feel? He asked, raising his bottle. I let out a small laugh, took my beer, and took a long swig before answering. Definitely calmer. He laughed and clinked his bottle against mine. So it's official. You signed everything. Signed. She did too. It's over. Jerry leaned back in his chair and shook his head with a smile on his face. Bro, your life is like a damn movie. I swear, if someone told me this story, I wouldn't believe it. I laughed too, shaking my head. Neither would I. He took a sip of his beer and looked at me with that mischievous expression he always had when expecting juicy gossip. Well, tell me, how did she react when she got the videos? I couldn't help but smile. Exactly as you'd imagine. First, she pretended not to care. Then she started yelling at me through text. Then she tried to make me feel guilty, telling me I was the worst man in the world. And the best part, he asked, leaning forward with excitement. I raised the bottle and took another swig before answering. She tried to make me feel guilty. She told me that if her cancer came back, if she died, it would be my fault. Jerry's eyes went wide, and then he burst out laughing, so loud that several people in the bar turned to look at us. You're shitting me. I swear. He slapped the table, laughing uncontrollably. My God, this woman is a show. After everything she did to you, she really thought she could get away with it. That's right. But I just told her to go find her friend and see if he would take care of her like I did. That made Jerry laugh even harder. He nearly choked on his beer and took several seconds to recover. That was a masterpiece. I bet she didn't know where to hide after that. I don't know, because she left the house right then and there. And since then, I haven't talked to her again. Jerry stared at me for a moment, then smiled, shaking his head. Bro, you won. I frowned curiously. What do you mean, I won? You're not here crying over her. You're not calling her, begging her to come back. You're not checking her social media to see what she's doing. You moved on. Meanwhile, her. I bet she's fuming with rage. I paused for a moment. He was right. I didn't feel the need to know where she was or who she was with. I hadn't checked her profile even once since it all happened. And most importantly, I didn't miss her. I took another sip and let out a long sigh. You know what? You're right. I really did win. Jerry smiled. Then let's celebrate. Tonight, beers are on me. And that's what we did. We drank, we laughed, and we celebrated like I had just gotten out of prison, because in a way, that's exactly what had happened. I was free. Free to start again. Free to do whatever I wanted. And for the first time in a long while, I was happy.